For astronomers, finding an unexplained signal is like a deep-sea diver hearing a submarine sonar in a tiny backyard pond. It just doesn't belong. The James Webb Space Telescope, our most powerful eye on the universe, has just found that impossible sonar.
They've been observed moving up to 620 miles per second.
It's an unexplained infrared signal near Venus, a place we thought we understood. NASA is now in overdrive trying to figure out what this signal is and, more importantly, what it means for us. But here's the catch. The signal isn't pointed at us. Venus's secret neighbor. So here's the deal. JWST is forbidden from looking at our inner solar system. Its instruments are so ridiculously sensitive that pointing them at something as bright as Venus, Mercury, or the Sun would be like using a microscope to stare into a blast furnace. The light and heat would permanently destroy its delicate sensors. It's a multi-billion-dollar do not touch, but that's exactly what makes this discovery so terrifying. It all happened during what was supposed to be a boring calibration run. A few weeks ago, a team of engineers was running diagnostics on the Near-Infrared Camera, or NIRCAM. This involved slewing, or moving, the telescope from one distant galaxy to another. For a few brief, carefully planned minutes, the telescope's line of sight swept across the ecliptic plane, the flat disc-like area where the planets orbit, and for just a moment it passed by the orbital path of Venus. This was supposed to be dead time. The sensors were on, but they weren't expecting to see anything. That's when the data stream lit up. The system's automated software, which is designed to filter out known objects like planets and asteroids, went haywire. It flagged a transient anomaly, basically a ghost in the data, but when the team on the ground at the Space Telescope Science Institute rewound the data, they realized it wasn't a glitch. It was a signal. As the telescope's gaze passed the dark side of Venus, it picked up a sharp, focused spike in the infrared spectrum. It wasn't a big hot blob like a planet. It was a tiny point-like source, and it was blazing hot, but only at a very specific frequency. 4.7 microns. What most people don't realize is that this is a wow factor of the highest order. Natural objects like hot rocks or gas clouds glow across a wide range of infrared light, like a dim, smeary light bulb. This thing was glowing like a laser pointer. It was almost all of its energy, all of its heat, concentrated in one specific narrowband frequency. The crazy part is, it shouldn't have been there. NASA's first move was to check the databases. Was it a known asteroid? Number. The database was empty. Was it one of our own satellites? We have probes in the area, the Parker Solar Probe and the European Bepi Colombo, but NASA knows exactly where they are. This signal wasn't from any of them. And get this, the signal wasn't coming from Venus. It was coming from near Venus. When they triangulated the position, they found it in a stable co-orbital resonance. It was in Venus's orbit, but either just ahead or just behind it, parked in the empty space. The team ran the numbers. Based on the sheer power of the infrared signal, the object, if it was a solid object, could only be about the size of a school bus. But for something that small to be putting out that much focused heat, we're talking hundreds of degrees, it would need a massive active power source. A rock that size, even near Venus, wouldn't be nearly that hot. And the final, chilling detail? The object is optically dark. It's invisible. Hubble has looked at this region of space before. Ground telescopes have looked, and they've seen nothing. This object, whatever it is, doesn't reflect sunlight. It's either painted perfectly black, or it's made of something that just absorbs all visible light. It's a stealth object that is just screaming with infrared heat. This data was immediately classified. Not a top secret kind of classification, but a scientific verification lockdown. That's the code for we have no idea what this is, and we need to be 100% sure before we tell the world. NASA has now assembled a high-priority task force. They've pulled in experts from the Jet Propulsion Laboratory, Goddard Space Flight Center, and even the United States Space Force. Because here's the deal. They are now facing a scenario that has, until now, been pure science fiction. After decades of looking at distant silent stars, the James Webb Space Telescope may have just found the biggest and scariest mystery in our own backyard. But before they could even consider what it was, they had to prove what it wasn't. And every natural explanation was about to fall apart. Crossing off the natural list. When you find a ghost in the machine, the first thing you do is try to prove it's not a ghost. You check the wiring, you check the code, you check for simple, boring explanations. And when it comes to Venus, there's a long list of simple and boring that is still pretty wild. Venus is Earth's twin in size, but it's a nightmare. It's a runaway greenhouse effect in action. The surface is 900 degrees Fahrenheit, hot enough to melt lead. The atmospheric pressure is 90 times that of Earth, enough to crush a military submarine. And the sky is permanently covered in thick, choking clouds of sulfuric acid. For decades, this hellscape has given scientists mysteries. The number one suspect for any flash or signal from Venus has always been lightning. For years, scientists have wondered. The planet's thick clouds, swirling at over 200 miles per hour, seem like a perfect factory for building up static electricity. Missions from the former Soviet Union in the 1970s and 80s recorded radio static that scientists interpreted as massive lightning strikes. They even suspected that Venus lightning could be more frequent and more powerful than anything on Earth. So, was this what JWST saw? A massive, never-before-seen superbolt of lightning? Yeah, about that. That theory is now dead in the water. First off, lightning is a flash. It lasts for a split second, maybe a few seconds, for a big crawler bolt. The James Webb Space Telescope signal was persistent. It was stable. The telescope saw it for the entire duration of its sweep, which was several minutes long. It wasn't a flash, it was a steady, unwavering glow. Second, and this is the real kicker, the whole Venus lightning idea might be a complete misunderstanding. In the last few years, we've sent our most advanced probes to fly through the Venusian system. NASA's Parker Solar Probe has been using Venus for gravity-assist flybys, getting closer than any other craft. Japan's Akatsuki orbiter has been circling the planet since 2015. Both probes went searching for the telltale radio signals of lightning. And as a major study recently reported, they failed to find any. Not one. The radio static that the old probes picked up, it turns out it was most likely interference from their own instruments or from the solar wind. So, what about all the flashes other observatories like the Mount, Bigelow Observatory have seen? Well, that same new study has an answer for that too. They're meteors. It's not that complicated, really. Venus is right next to us, and it gets hit by space rocks just as much as Earth does. The team calculated the number of meteors that should be hitting Venus and found it perfectly matches the number of flashes seen by Akatsuki. So here's the deal. The old mysteries are solved. The flashes are meteors. The radio static was a mistake. And the new JWST signal? It's definitely not a meteor, which lasts seconds. And it's not lightning, which probably doesn't even exist there. Okay, so what's next on the list? Volcanoes. Venus is covered in them, thousands of them, and many scientists believe the planet is still geologically active. Just last year, data from the old Magellan probe confirmed what looks like a fresh volcanic eruption. Could JWST have seen a massive plume of hot gas and ash punching through the clouds? It's a good theory, but it doesn't fit the data. A volcanic plume would be massive. It would be a diffuse, messy cloud of gas and heat spreading out over hundreds of miles. The James Webb Space Telescope signal was a tiny, focused, point-like source, and a plume would come from the planet. This object is in a stable orbit outside the atmosphere. It's not an eruption, it's an object. All right, let's cross off the last two. Is it an asteroid? Number. As we said, it's optically dark but thermally bright. A rock is the opposite. It reflects light, optically bright, but isn't that hot? Thermally dim. This thing is a stealth rock that's screaming with heat. That doesn't make sense. And finally, is it one of our probes? NASA and the European Space Agency know down to the inch where every one of their multi-billion-dollar probes is. The Parker Solar Probe, Bepi Colombo, they were nowhere near this location. This is the point where the mood at NASA turned from curious to deeply concerned. They had, in a single day, ruled out every single known natural phenomenon. It's not lightning, it's not meteors, it's not volcanoes, it's not an asteroid, and it's not ours. The team was left with only one deeply unsettling conclusion. This object was not made by nature. The investigation was no longer about geology or weather. It was now about technology. The Watchtower Theory. When every natural explanation fails, you are forced to consider the unnatural. In astronomy, there is a very sober, very scientific term for this, a technosignature. A technosignature is any measurable, observable sign of technology. It's not a flying saucer. It's not a little green man. It's the byproducts. It's the proof. On Earth, we create technosignatures every second. The lights of our cities at night, the chemicals in our atmosphere that don't belong, like the CFCs from old spray cans, the constant overlapping bubble of our radio, television, and Wi-Fi signals. These are all broadcasting our existence to the cosmos. But there's another kind of technosignature, one that's much more fundamental: waste heat. So here's the deal. Physics has one unbreakable rule. It's called the second law of thermodynamics. Basically, it means there's no such thing as a perfect machine. Every single technological process, whether it's your laptop, your car engine, a nuclear power plant, or a starship's propulsion system, generates waste heat. You can't get rid of it. You can't destroy it. You can only move it. On Earth, we use air or water to cool our machines. In the cold vacuum of space, there's only one way to get rid of heat. You have to radiate it away. You have to glow. An advanced, powerful piece of technology operating in space would glow in the infrared. And if it was a highly efficient, high-tech machine, it wouldn't just be a general, messy blob of heat. It would likely radiate its heat at a specific, optimized frequency to be as efficient as possible. It would glow, exactly like the signal JWST just found. That narrow band, 4.7 micron signal isn't a hello. It is the exhaust. It is the radiator. It is the waste heat from a machine, and it's parked right next to us. This is where the wild theory becomes a horrifyingly plausible scenario. Why Venus? Why would any advanced intelligence put a piece of high-value technology next to the most hellish, dangerous planet in the solar system? What most people don't realize is that's exactly why it's the perfect spot. If you wanted to set up a long-term observation post to study Earth, you wouldn't park it in Earth's orbit. We'd find it. Our planet is quiet. We scan our own skies constantly for asteroids, spy satellites, and space junk. And you wouldn't park it on Mars. Mars is boring and easy to see. We have a fleet of orbiters and rovers there. We'd spot an anomaly on the surface in a week. Number. You'd park it next to Venus. Venus is the perfect mask. It's a noisy planet. It is already a blindingly bright ball of heat and light. Any ground-based telescope trying to find a tiny hot object right next to a massive, super hot planet would be completely blinded. It's like trying to find a single specific drop of rain in the middle of a hurricane. You would be hidden in plain sight. And get this, that co-orbital position, it's not just stable. It gives this object a perfect front row seat to Earth. As Venus and Earth swing around the Sun in their celestial dance, this object would have an uninterrupted line of sight to us for most of the year. It's in the perfect position to watch. It's in the perfect position to listen. We have been broadcasting our existence for just over 100 years. Every radio show, every television broadcast, every cell phone call, every military radar sweep, all of it has been leaking into space at the speed of light. What if this thing is an information harvester, a watchtower, a listening post, parked in the shadow of our sister planet, silently recording everything we've ever done? This is the Watcher theory, that the object isn't new, that it might be ancient. A silent, patient observer that has been there for centuries, or millennia just watching. But then, as NASA ran the scenarios, a few scientists proposed something far worse. What if it's not just watching? The signal is a sign of power, and power can be used for more than just listening. A trap set for humanity. The Watcher theory is unsettling, but the new theories that are being floated inside NASA's locked conference rooms are the stuff of nightmares. This is where the speculation gets really wild because the data is so bizarre, it's forcing scientists to think outside the box. So here's the deal. The object is pumping out a massive amount of energy, far more than you'd need for a simple listening post. This implies it's doing something active. This leads to wild theory number 1, the solar harvester. Why park near Venus? Because it's close to the sun. The solar radiation that far in is incredibly intense. This object could be a solar siphon, a refueling station. It's soaking up gigawatts of solar energy, converting it and storing it. The infrared signal isn't just waste heat, it's the byproduct of a massive industrial-scale energy conversion process. It's a gas station for an interstellar civilization. The only question is, are they just refueling and passing through, or are they stocking up for something big? But that theory seems almost benign compared to the next one. Wild theory. Number 2. The terraformer, or the world breaker. Everyone is obsessed with terraforming Mars, turning a cold, dead planet into a new Earth. But what about terraforming Venus? For decades, scientists like Carl Sagan have proposed seeding the Venusian clouds with algae to slowly convert the carbon dioxide atmosphere. What if this object is an ancient, automated terraforming machine? A billion-year-old project that is still trying to fix the planet. Maybe it's a machine that's been at it for so long, its original builders are long gone. It's just a dumb, powerful robot patiently working on an impossible task. But then there's the dark flip side of that theory. What if this machine isn't trying to fix Venus? What if this machine is what broke it? Think about it. Venus and Earth are twins. They started out almost identical. So why is Earth a paradise and Venus a 900-degree hellscape? Scientists assume it was a natural runaway greenhouse effect. But what if it wasn't? What if this machine, this powerful heat-radiating object, is an atmospheric processor? A piece of tech that was brought to Venus, maybe hundreds of thousands of years ago, to mine the atmosphere. And in doing so, it processed the wrong chemicals. It released the wrong compounds, and it accidentally or deliberately triggered the runaway greenhouse effect. What if Venus wasn't a natural catastrophe? What if it was an industrial accident or an act of planetary-scale harm, and the machine is still there, still running? This leads to the really crazy theories. Wild theory number 3, the interdimensional beacon. The crazy part about this signal is its stability. It's not just in a stable orbit. The signal itself is rock solid. It's not flickering. It's not wavering. That 4.7 micron signal is as steady as a metronome. In theoretical physics, this kind of energy stability is required for exotic ideas. What if the object isn't an object at all? What if it's the exit of a stable wormhole, a tear in space-time? What if this object is a doorway, and the infrared signal is the heat leaking out from another part of the universe or another dimension entirely? It's not a ship. It's a destination. It's a beacon, holding a door open, waiting for something to come through. Or perhaps it's the exhaust port for a door somewhere else. And that brings us to the final and most terrifying theory. Wild theory number 4, the lure. What if the signal is meant to be found? For billions of years, this planet was silent. We were just mud, then microbes, then dinosaurs. We were nothing. Then for 100 years, we were a quiet, primitive planet, barely noticeable. Then in the last 60 years, we started poking at space. We got loud. We split the atom and broadcasted our first signals, an expanding bubble of noise telling the cosmos, we are here. We sent probes. We landed on the moon. We've gotten loud. And now we've just built our most powerful ever eye, the James Webb Space Telescope, and pointed it at the sky. We thought we were the observers. We thought we were the ones in charge. What if we were wrong? What if this object, this thing, has been quiet for millennia? What if it's been sitting there, patient, dormant, waiting for a very specific indicator? And what if it sensed the JWST's calibration sweep? What if this signal isn't a persistent natural glow, but something that just turned on when it realized it was being seen by a technology advanced enough to matter? It's a trap. A Venus flytrap for curious emerging civilizations. Think about it. A Venus flytrap doesn't hunt. It doesn't need to. It just sits there perfectly still, looking harmless. It offers a sweet, irresistible nectar, a promise of a reward. It waits for the curious to get too close. This is the same. It's a beacon that sits in the dark waiting for a species to get smart enough, just smart enough to build a telescope like the JWST. And when they do, when their technology finally crosses that hidden threshold, the lure turns on. It sends out a signal so intriguing, so unnatural, that the curious new civilization just has to go and check it out. It's not a threat, it's a puzzle. It's a whisper that says, you are not alone, playing on the one thing that defines an intelligent species: curiosity. And of course, what is NASA doing right now? They are spending billions of dollars to send the Veritas and Da Vinci probes straight to Venus, straight toward the signal. We're told it's for geology. We're told it's to study climate change. But why the sudden urgency? Why two separate missions back to back in a desperate rush? We could be a fish swimming hungrily toward a beautiful glowing light in the deep, dark ocean. We think we've discovered something wonderful. We think we're the explorers pushing the frontier, but we're just the next meal. We're about to find out what has been waiting there, with its jaws open all this time. NASA knows the risk. The scientists at the top, they see the pattern. They know what this looks like, and that's why the new space race to Venus has become a desperate, silent scramble. It's not a race for glory. It's a race to see if we can understand the trap before it snaps shut. The Venus Ultimatum. The thing is, NASA is now in an impossible position. They are stuck between a rock and a hard place, and the hard place is a 900-degree inferno. They cannot, under any circumstances, hold a press conference and announce any of this. Think about it. What would they even say? If they announced they found a natural anomaly, some new, unexplained physics, they look totally incompetent when they can't explain it. They'd be admitting that their multi-trillion-dollar understanding of the universe is fundamentally wrong. But if they announce they found an unnatural anomaly, well, that's it. That's the ball game. They would cause global world-ending panic. We're not talking about a few people hoarding toilet paper. We're talking about stock markets vaporizing in seconds. We're talking about global supply chains grinding to a halt, cities emptying out, and widespread civilization-ending chaos. It would be the end of the world as we know it, and the thing wouldn't even have to do anything. So here's the deal. They are going to keep it quiet. They are going to bury this so deep it will never see the light of day. They are going to frame this as science, and they are going to use the missions they already have on the books as their secret weapon. This is the part of the story that most people are missing. For 30 years, NASA has been obsessed with Mars. It's been Mars, Mars, Mars. They've sent rover after rover. But Venus, our closest neighbor, it's been completely ignored. For decades, Venus was written off. It's a pressurized oven, a toxic nightmare of acid clouds and crushing gravity. Scientists called it a dead end. Landing there is almost impossible. The pressure is 90 times that of Earth. It's like being half a mile underwater. Why spend billions on a place you can't possibly explore? So for 3 decades, all the money, all the prestige, and all the headlines went to the red planet. We haven't sent a dedicated American mission to Venus since the Magellan probe in 1989. Then, just 2 years ago, NASA suddenly and completely out of nowhere announced it was funding 2 brand new multi-billion-dollar missions to Venus. One is called Veritas. It's an orbiter. The public story is that it's tasked with mapping the surface in high resolution to look for active volcanoes and study the planet's geology. The other, and this is the big one, is called Da Vinci. This is a probe that will actually plunge into the hellscape atmosphere. It's a one-way trip. It's a 6-foot wide sphere, designed as a lethal mission. It is built to survive for just 1 hour as it falls through the acid clouds and 900-degree heat before being crushed, melted, and vaporized. Its public mission is to sniff the atmosphere, to taste the chemicals, to finally figure out what Venus is made of. Now you have to ask yourself, you're a person watching this. You're looking for the truth. Does it make sense that after 30 years of total silence, of calling Venus a dead end, NASA suddenly approved 2 massive, expensive, and incredibly difficult missions? Right before their brand new $10 billion telescope found the biggest anomaly in human history. In that exact same spot? Are we missing a key detail? What if the JWST signal wasn't the first hint? What if the timeline is backward? What if the old probes, like the Parker Solar Probe or the European Bepi Colombo, which both swing by Venus, saw a ghost in their own data? A flicker, a sensor reading that made no sense, a gravitational pull that should not be there. You don't just get 2 multi-billion-dollar missions approved on a whim. That paperwork takes years. The only way it happens that fast is if a 3-star general slams his fist on a table and says, "We need eyes there now." What if NASA already suspected something was hiding at Venus and the JWST just confirmed it in the most terrifying way possible? Because here's the catch. The mission plans for those 2 probes are now the most important documents on the planet. Veritas isn't just going to map the surface. You can bet that its orbit will be adjusted to fly right by that co-orbital point. Its ground-penetrating radar won't be pointed at the ground, it'll be aimed sideways at the anomaly, trying to see if it can get a shape. And the Da Vinci probe? Its 1-hour plunge is now the most high-stakes mission in human history. As it descends, its primary mission won't be sniffing for sulfur dioxide. Its cameras will be pointed, its sensors will be retuned, and it will be listening. They are sending a multi-billion-dollar canary into a coal mine. They are literally throwing a probe at the anomaly to see what happens, to see if it flinches. They need to know, is it a rock or does it have defenses? This isn't just an American investigation. You can be sure that every other spacefaring nation is watching. China's space agency, which has its own ambitious plans for Venus, is almost certainly racing to get its own probes there. The Russians, who have a long history with Venus, their old Venera landers were the only things to ever survive on the surface, are dusting off their old plans. This is a new silent space race. It's not about planting a flag, it's about being the first to find out what is waiting for us. For half a century, we've been looking out at the distant stars, obsessed with finding a tiny, dead microbe on Mars. But the real story, the one that might actually change our world, is hiding in the inferno right next door. And the scariest part? We just accidentally let it know that we can see it. We knocked on the door. Now we just have to wait to see who or what answers. So, what is the unexplained signal? Is it an ancient dead machine or is it an active lure waiting for us? Let us know your wildest theory in the comments. And make sure to like and subscribe.